Okay, at long last, we're finally going to take the fox dipping needle back home to Cornwall, having held on to it for rather a long time. It should have gone back last year, but due to the pandemic, this is the first chance I've had to take it back. However, before it can return to the Polly down in Cornwall, we need to do a minor operation. Unfortunately, whilst it was on the ship and we were going past Land's End, we were hit by a bit of a storm, well, some very choppy weather, and it demagnetized the needle. So basically, this bar in the middle of the circle, basically as the ship was rolling and rocking, the needle was tapping away at it, constantly tapping, and this tapping motion has actually desensitized it. So if I bring a magnet here, I don't want to bring it too close, but it's not. There's very, very limited influence. It should be much more influence than that. So we're going to take the needle out and remagnetize it, which was one of the most dangerous operations that you could do in the 19th century at sea, because if you apply too much pressure when putting the needle back in, it'll split. I have done this before. I did it around the equator. It's when you get to the equator, the needle goes like this, quite horizontal, and it's very difficult to work out whether the needle has been desensitized or whether it's just because you're in the equator and there is little magnetic force. So you have to take it out, remagnetize it, and then test it. But let's take it out and remagnetize the needle, which is hasn't been done for, well, quite some time. So there's a screw here on the back. Taking it out is quite easy. Oh God. Providing I get the right direction. See, the problem is that the pin that holds it in place is very, very fine. You need to apply enough pressure that the thing can oscillate freely, but not so much pressure that the pin snaps. And obviously in the 19th century, if it snapped when you were off the coast of Australia or Singapore, there wouldn't be anyone around with the skill to repair it, and then the needle wouldn't work. So I've taken the needle out. Now this is the northern end of the tip, so we'll remagnetize that. Now what I have here is a powerful bar magnet. This one here is what I'll use to remagnetize it. Now this is the south end. As you can see, that attracts the north pole, so we've determined that's the south, but that is the northern part of this very powerful bar magnet. We then take our fox type needle and what I do is stroke it a few times in the direction of the north pole, well, the north pole of this magnet. This should, right, and I think now when we put this back in, it'll be very powerfully magnetized, and it should respond to the Earth's magnetic field once more. So it actually sits on a diamond pivot, but the hole is so fine. I don't know whether you can actually see, but like the pin that it sits on is so precise. It's absolutely minuscule. Can't believe they made something this fine back at the time. Now this is the bit that's really rather nerve-wracking. And if you imagine being in the 1840s and being at sea and knowing that, just a touch too much pressure when reinserting this needle, you'd hear that awful crack of the, I'm imagining, I'm not speaking from experience because I haven't broken any parts of this dipping needle, but you would hear that awful crack and then know that your needle wouldn't oscillate again until you got back to England. And it's actually sinking it into a hole that's been carved into a giant diamond or ruby. And I think at that. Ah, excellent. She oscillates again. And with the magnet, if we bring this now, very, very sensitive. Ooh. So, excellent. We've corrected it. And now when it goes back to Cornwall, it will, yeah, that's much better. Whereas it was showing 0 degrees. 0 degrees would indicate that we were actually at the magnetic equator. 90 would indicate that we were at the North Pole. It's now, if we point it towards the north, should get something more in the realms of being halfway between the North Pole and the equator. So there it is. Anyway, now all I've got to do is drive it down to Cornwall and hope that the vibrations from the car don't demagnetize it again. But we'll see.